Okay, so welcome to Practice Opportunity 24. It's been a few years since we've had this event in person, so it's pretty exciting. This event is in collaboration with the Ontario Chiropractic Association, and I'm David Coleman, Director of Alumni Relations at CMCC. So we're going to start the program with the OCA Practice Realties panel, and at the end of the presentation, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions. Then we'll have a 30-minute break. We'll have our keynote address. That'll begin at 11, finish at noon, and both of the sessions are being recorded. The trade show runs from noon until 4 o'clock in the CCPA hall for sponsors and vendors, and in the eatery for chiropractors. Okay, so we have with us today 20 chiropractors from across Canada who are here in person. And then for the virtual event at the end of the month, we have 60 chiropractors. So in total, 80. I don't think we've ever had 80 chiropractors in the history of this event. So there's a lot of opportunity for you guys to interact with them. Hopefully you've downloaded the app because there's a lot of important information on there. So we encourage you to visit the provincial, national, and other chiropractic associations to learn about chiropractic across Canada, find out about the support and resources available to you, chiropractic utilization rates, scopes of practice, insurance, and so much more. And some of the associations at their booths in the CCPA hall will be offering job opportunities as well. So you got the chiropractors, but some associations also have job opportunities. So be sure to ask about those. So speaking of employment, I'm really excited to announce we just launched yesterday a new job listing site called Chiro Opportunity, and it's located in the Alumni and Friends section on the CMCC website. So I encourage you to check it out after the event today. You'll also receive an email from me just giving you the link, just in case. And this is a very active site. We get posts almost every day. So given you're only a few months away from graduation, I highly encourage you to visit the site as often as you can. Alumni and Friends section on the CMCC website is called Chiro Opportunities. Okay, so in the CCPA hall, we have a diverse group of exhibitors who are suppliers to the chiropractic profession, and they provide equipment, products, services, and many of them are big supporters of CMCC. So we'd like you to set aside some time to visit their booths. And some of the exhibitors actually have large clinics as well. So there's lots of opportunities to talk about future employment. So, not only is this an event for you guys, it also raises money for CMCC, raises non-tuition revenues every year. So, and a big reason for that is the sponsorship that we get. So I just want to recognize the sponsors. Our title sponsor is the Ontario Chiropractic Association. We really appreciate their support. Keynote address sponsor is the Canadian Chiropractic Association. And then we have gold sponsors, Elite Chiropractic Tables, and the Canadian Chiropractic Protective Association. Silver sponsors, Massage Addict Chiropractic Association of Alberta, RBC and Divine Spine. And then our bronze sponsors are the Chiropractors Association of Saskatchewan, Foot Levelers, and Footmax. We're also grateful to Elite. The Elite give us tremendous support, and they have donated a table for a raffle. So somebody's going to win a chiropractic table after today's event. And there's lots of great prizes which have been donated by our vendors, chiropractors associations. So, without any further ado, I would like to introduce CMCC President Dr. David Wickes.
Thank you, David. And good morning and welcome to everyone. This is a nice opportunity for you to have the expertise today presented to you, and I am very grateful for the panel and what you bring. When I travel across the country and talk at various provincial meetings, oftentimes what I hear is someone references back to something that they learned at this particular session, so you have an impact, and it's very much appreciated. I'm also excited that I've got two Irish people with me today. Because I am, as I told you at CMCC Talk the other day, I'm planning on making a trip to Ireland, and I'm going to break into their cottages while they're here and stay in those places for free while I'm over there. So that'll be fun. This is always a great day because you have a chance to talk with each other, look at potential employments in going down the road, and to talk to practitioners that are eager to bring in associates and partners and so forth. So it's a tremendous opportunity for you. I'd like to introduce this morning Caroline Brereton. Caroline is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ontario Chiropractic Association, and she's made a tremendous impact upon that organization. She has brought her leadership skills, which she honed at Queen's University with getting her MBA, and she's gone on to all sorts of different things. And recently, I had her as a convocation speaker, and she delighted our graduates with her words of wisdom. So it's always exciting for me to have Caroline join us. So at this point, I'd like you to join me in welcoming Ms. Caroline Brereton, Chief Executive Officer of the OCA.
Thank you, David. And David, it is always great to be here, and I'm delighted once again to be back at CMCC for the practice opportunity and for OCA to be the sponsor. I want to acknowledge the kind words that David said about my leadership, because I want to emphasize that leadership without the participation of the profession is just failure. There is no leadership. And so I often reflect on the tremendous engagement we have from the chiropractic profession in Ontario. I recently went through the membership stats for all of the associations that are part of the WFC. And believe it or not, the Ontario Chiropractic Association ranks third or fourth in terms of the greatest number of chiropractors engaged with their profession in any particular jurisdiction. And that is tremendous, because with your voices, listening to you and what's necessary for you to be successful in delivering patient care and have a successful career, and us engaging with you to move along the agenda that will advance the profession is what success is all about. And just for context, and you'll hear more of those stats a little bit later, I wanted to share as I start my opening remarks that in the 6 years that I've been with the profession, I have seen tremendous strides in terms of the role that chiropractors play in the healthcare system and the health of Ontarians. And what happens in Ontario matters globally. Recently, a number of us were at the World Federation of Chiropractic in Australia, and the number of contributors to the research agenda, to advancing quality patient care, to advancing health equity, the number of contributors who came from Ontario and who were graduates of this school was amazing and something to be really proud of. And just as an indicator of success, pre-pandemic in 2019, we were for the first time able to access the amount of payments to chiropractors for care in Canada. And between 2019 and 2022, that amount of money grew by $200 million, or almost 20%. And I am confident that in no small way, a big part of that was due to the way in which this profession responded to the healthcare needs of Ontarians during that period of time, collaborated with the healthcare professionals who were setting the safety boundaries for everybody. And building on those successes, we are engaged in great conversations with government about how chiropractors can continue to be an important part of the healthcare system moving forward. So with that, I'm delighted to be here today. Our mission is to actively collaborate with the 4,000 members that we have. And a big part of that is to advance the understanding and use of chiropractic care. And you have an important role to play in that. You're all almost graduating, most of you, and you will be the trailblazers of tomorrow. And you understand the needs of your communities that you're involved with, and you understand what it is they're looking for and what's important to you. And we want to hear from you about that. I've met with many of you over the 6 years that I've been working with the OCA, and there is a passion within this profession that is very evident, and especially when I work with other professions. I am currently the chair of the Coalition of Regulated Health Professionals, and we are a coalition that work together to advance the role of regulated health professions more broadly. But in that group, the majority of the professions are not funded by the publicly funded system, but we can contribute significantly in different ways given the payment models that exist in Ontario for healthcare. We were proud recently to sponsor your charity gala to help raise $20,000 for EVA's initiatives to support homeless youth. And giving back to the community aligns with the OCA's vision of caring chiropractors for healthy Ontarians. Healthcare providers need to be visibly engaged with their communities, and it's not enough to have a transactional relationship with patients anymore. Communities and patients want to understand that they are seeking and receiving care from practitioners who are engaged in their community. So that was an excellent example of your organization, your student body, sponsoring an important event. We've also been very impressed, and it's been very important work for us, to recognize the work of Dr. Tony Tibbles in this past year as our Chiropractor of the Year, particularly for the important work that is accomplished through the clinics which he leads and champions, providing care to underserved communities. And that is a significant area of focus for us with the OCA. There are many communities who do not receive the kind of neuro-MSK care that they should to enable them to fully participate in society. And we were delighted to celebrate, and congratulations to Dr. Tibbles, who's there, for being our Chiropractor of the Year this past year. We're actually in the process of rebranding because we're almost 90 years old as an association, which is a long time to be established in a profession, one of the oldest regulated health professions, professional organizations in Ontario. But what does an association mean to you? If I say association, what does it mean? You might think of it as trade organization, you might think of it as advocacy, but in today's world, associations, whether it's the OMA or the OPA or the OCA, we've been modernizing and updating what it is we do for you. And really, we are there to make sure that you are successful in your careers. So I want to tell you a little bit about the things that we offer, some of which you have heard before. A big part of what we offer is continuing education, and similar to the alumni supports you get from CMCC, there are a number of organizations, and whether it's in Ontario or across the country, we know that continuing education is important for you, not only with respect to patient care, but business topics. And in the current environment, the business world is important. You will be small business owners, entrepreneurs in the healthcare space, and we're here to support you with workshops, videos, and insights to help you be successful. We also understand how much you've invested financially in your career, and it's no small commitment to undertake the quality of education that you receive here at CMCC, and that's why we've partnered with Enriched Academy to make sure that you have the resources to manage your finances, to grow your personal wealth, and to start you on that successful journey. We offer mentorship programs, and not unlike the commitment of our panelists here today. We have many experienced chiropractors who give back to the profession by being mentors in our mentorship program. We've modernized that mentorship program to have virtual and in-person components, and it's been very, very successful. So I encourage you to look for that once you've graduated. We understand that we have a dual role of supporting you, but also advancing the understanding of the chiropractic profession. So you will find that we offer patient education and other materials that are designed to help you work with patients and others in your community to advance the care that you can deliver. And we're really, really invested in making sure that when you are working in your clinics, when you are out there being an entrepreneur in your small business ownership and growing your clinics, that you have the kinds of tools that help you run your clinics efficiently. We are extremely proud of our software solution that we offer for our members. We've been in the business of offering a software solution for 30 years, something that most associations have not attempted to offer their members. And we've advanced that solution to be a leading cloud-based practice management and electronic health record software. You can't get a product like that anywhere else to help you establish your clinic. And it comes with all of the things you need, including your accounting software and additional features to help you run your business. Why that's important for us? We want you to be successful, but we also want to be able to leverage the data that's collected at the clinic level to really advance the profession in Ontario. Recently, again, I was in a conversation with members of University Health Network. We were advancing the conversations around chiropractors and concussion care. And the UHN team said, can we get our hands on some community-based data about the outcomes for patients receiving concussion care by chiropractors? And I said, we're on it, but we're not there yet. But there's a growing awareness within the broader health community that patients are choosing to see chiropractors. And therefore, there's a keen interest in understanding what are the outcomes, where is the data, how can we combine that data with the other data sets that's available so the decision makers can see the opportunities for including chiropractors more broadly in the practices in Ontario. So we continue to advance our communications around Aspire. Many of you have seen it. We get great feedback about its benefits in the clinics, and I know you'll learn more about that today as well. We want to make it easy for you to understand that we are here for you in the long term, so you can all join the OCA for free as students, and you can have access to the same kind of resources that our graduated and our practicing members have. So I do encourage you to please take advantage of that. I will say, and we were chatting about this earlier, the pandemic has made it more difficult for all of us to engage with our members. Across the country, we're having the same conversations. I know today, David and his team are going, where is everybody today? Are they all going to just look at the videos later? I don't think you are going to look at the videos later, because you all tell me you want a 3-minute Instagram post, right, that you can replay. But we have to find ways to engage with you, because collectively that's how we're going to advance the profession. So it is free for you to join as students. I do really encourage you to sign up. And then in your first year of graduation, when you're figuring out how to make ends meet, how to balance your budget, we offer you free membership in the OCA in return for 20 hours of volunteer work that's professionally relevant for you. And I have to say, every week when we get together as a group, there's some other idea about how we could engage our first-year graduates in that 20 hours, whether it's helping us with research, getting new perspectives on how to support you in your career, supporting other chiropractors in doing the things they want to do in their clinics that advance patient care, and doing that on a volunteer basis. So it's an exciting way to learn more about the profession and get involved by doing some volunteering work. About 3/4 of the graduates every year join the OCA, and therefore join the partnership, which is the OCA, CCA, and CCPA. And that is a really strong partnership that has helped us advance the profession in Ontario. We really want to engage with you, and there are many ways you can do that. You can follow us, and we encourage you to follow us on our social media channels, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and give us feedback on what's working and what's not working. We produce assets that you can just use and reshare and make it easy for you. And it is our job to help you be successful. If you're not successful, we've failed. And part of our commitment is pulling together the indicators of success for the profession in Ontario. I mentioned a few. Utilization as measured by payments to chiropractors. The growth of the profession in Ontario. The opportunities that exist for integration into other parts of the healthcare system. And so today is an opportunity to hear from those who've been out for various number of years in practice, and to help you understand what it might be like. It's always very exciting to hear how our graduates are doing different things and engaging in different ways. And so I'd like to now turn to introducing Dr. Richa Sharma, who is a 2020 CMCC graduate, so not that long ago, who holds a certification in contemporary medical acupuncture from McMaster, as well as a Bachelor of Science Honours in Psychology from York University. And in addition to clinical practice, she's been teaching here since 2022, so I think that's pretty cool. And so I know she recognizes many of you, and you recognize her. She's also one of the newest members of our Student and New Graduate Advisory Council. That is an amazing council of engaged recent grads. I can't tell you, they keep us on our toes, but give us great feedback all the time. I think the last meeting was this week that some of the members engaged with, which was amazing. And she looks forward to advancing the profession by contributing to building better supports for students and new chiropractors. So I welcome you, Richa, to introduce our panelists, and thank you all for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. So I'm pleased to be joining you today to moderate this discussion with 3 accomplished panelists. These chiropractors will uncover realistic expectations and challenges that you may experience after graduation. They will also identify some strategies and supports that are available to help you navigate your career path in chiropractic care. First, you'll hear from each panelist who will tell you about themselves, their career paths, and the most rewarding part of being a professional chiropractor. Then we'll move on to the formal panel questions, and provided that we have some time, we'll end with a Q&A period where you'll have a chance to ask the panelists some questions. So let's start by getting to know our panelist. So our first panelist is the clinic director for the Spine and Sports Clinic, a multidisciplinary practice with clinics in Woodbridge and Whitby, Ontario. His mission is to change the world's perception of manual therapy and healthcare, simply by treating patients the way he expects to be treated. His passion for the profession is displayed not just by the patients he treats, but also through his contributions as a mentor in the OCA's mentorship program. Please welcome Dr. Alykhan Jamal.
Thank you, Richa. Hi, my name is Dr. Alykhan Jamal, Ali for short. That's pretty simple. I was born and raised in Scarborough, Ontario. Went to York University, got a combined honors in philosophy and kinesiology. Then I went to Duval College for my chiropractic degree. From there, I worked for 1 year and realized I didn't like working for anybody. So I ended up opening a practice in Woodbridge. I actually took over a practice in Woodbridge. I had that for about 10 years, and then COVID hit. Life gets in the way eventually. You have kids, you have families. So I realized I was too far from my family. I lived in Whitby, and I was driving to Woodbridge to open another practice in Whitby during a pandemic. Good or bad idea, don't know yet. And I've been working there ever since. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ali, for joining us today. So our next panelist is Dr. Ellen Chin. Dr. Chin has been actively practicing and living in Uxbridge, Ontario for over 20 years. She is known by her patients for offering a comprehensive, individualized treatment plan, which may include a variety of methods. She is experienced in prenatal and postnatal care, helping moms-to-be with safe and gentle techniques to improve mobility, decrease spinal stress during and after pregnancy. She also has experience with pediatrics, working with infants and kids of all ages, helping them develop to their full physical potential through regular chiropractic care. Recently, she's been able to give back to the chiropractic profession by working with the CCO as a peer assessor and a peer mentor for OCA. She is also doing international missionary chiropractic work in Ghana, Africa. Please welcome Dr. Ellen Chin.
Hello. Hi, thank you so much for such a warm welcome. I thank you for inviting us, and I'm really interested in hearing the different questions you have for us and the different answers from the panelists here. When I graduated in 2002 as a chiropractor, 9/11 had just happened, so the world had changed a lot at that time. So we were really unsure of a lot of stuff. By that time, I had accumulated a lot of student debt. I was trying to save money to get married. I was trying to save money to get a down payment. And at the same time, I wanted to be a young mom. So a lot of those things I felt conflicted with each other. So I wish I had something like this that really helped me have someone to mentor me or ask questions about what the right path was. And I'm really happy OCA has created something like this. Once my oldest kid went to university, I decided I really wanted to give back to the chiropractic profession. So I was able to apply to be a peer assessor for CCOs. So that was good. I might be meeting some of you in the near future. And also as a peer mentor for the OCA. But yeah, it's been really good over the last 22 years of practice. So I look forward to hearing all your questions. And thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Ellen, for joining us today. So our final panelist today is Dr. Paolo Ciantis. With a Master of Science degree in Physiology and Pharmacology, Dr. Ciantis is the owner and clinical director of the Sports Specialist Rehab Centre in Toronto, Ontario. His goal is to work with patients for the restoration and maintenance of optimal health. He does this through a variety of techniques, equipment, and therapies, including acupuncture, to treat patients and promote healing. His focus is on rehab, pain reduction, chronic pain management, injury prevention, sports-specific training, and retraining. A graduate of CMCC's class of 2013, Dr. Ciantis has been a member of the OCA Board of Directors since 2019. He is also very active on social media. Please welcome Dr. Paolo Ciantis.
Hello. Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing to be part of this panel as well too, and for today. So my journey kind of started at U of T. I graduated with my honors Bachelor of Science. I went to McMaster for my Master of Science degree and then entered the CMCC. I graduated and immediately took over a practice which had its own challenges since I had zero idea how to run a business. And much like Dr. Ali, I decided during the pandemic to open up a second location which had its own challenges. But it's been incredibly wonderful giving back to the chiropractic community, especially individuals like yourselves who will be graduating soon. So I'm very active with the OCA Mentee program, and I also decided to get involved with the board of directors, which has been an amazing experience as well. I try to be as active as possible with my community, which I encourage you all to be. It's an incredibly rewarding experience. Recently just getting involved with Casey House in downtown Toronto, so that's been something I've been waiting to get into for almost a year and a half, so that'll be wonderful. I can tell you right now, just as a snippet, that the level of education that you get at the CMCC will undoubtedly benefit you in your practice. I see one of my year 4 clinicians, Dr. Glenn Harris, and I still use lessons actively every week almost that he tried to drill into my head daily. But I am very truly humbled for the level of education that you get here. And to be fair, also not just a shameless plug to the OCA, all of the tools that are now available to you, particularly things for business ownership, financials, things of that nature, are incredibly beneficial for you. I highly encourage you to look at that now, please, so that way you can avoid errors that we probably will discuss some of those today that can sort of happen to you, which just for running a business. But that being said, you're in the right place, and can't wait to hear your thoughts and questions. And thank you for allowing me to be part of this amazing panel and here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you all for being here with us today. I'm sure the students are looking forward to hearing more about your experiences. So let us move on to the panel Q&A. So the first question is, as a chiropractor, what are the best practices that you have used to enhance patient outcomes? Dr. Ali.
Thank you, Richa. So when it comes to best practices, as you guys know, continuing education is a big part of what you need to do when you get your license. So I use a lot of the continuing educations to update my best practices and update certificates and use that within my practice with patients, especially with patient education. Extremely important. The more you can educate a patient, the more you increase the partnership of care, and the more the patient is willing to participate with you in their care.
And Dr. Ali, just a follow-up question. What is the most important lesson that you've learned from your best practices?
So I think it's important to take a really good initial history, really listening to what the patient has, what type of care they've had before, what has worked, what hasn't worked, really listening to what they're expecting from us and kind of formulating a best treatment plan for them. And also that might change over how quickly they're recovering. So just really listening to what they have, and you can kind of see in their face what they want from you, and then kind of change your practice and treatment plan according to that.
Dr. Jamal.
Sure. So I think that one of the best practices that I've learned to, I guess, or my experience was to develop over the course of my tenure was almost along the lines of what you were speaking about, which was listening to the patient, individualizing that care. When push comes to shove, there are chiropractors everywhere. I think really communicating and connecting with that individual, making them understand that you are there to care for them and help them in any way that you can. And even if you cannot, because despite your best efforts, there's going to be individuals that you cannot help, at least they know they can go to you for resources about where else to go to get specialized care or further testing or other individuals involved. Really connecting with and personalizing that care, I think, will be something very important for you in practice.
All right, our second question is, how have you connected in your community with other healthcare professionals? How has this helped your practice and your patients?
So I'd say this is probably one of the challenging questions because most of us as chiropractors want to work with family doctors and have them refer patients to us. And it sounds simple enough, but it's probably one of the most challenging things to deal with. One of the things I've done regularly from when I started practice was I would always create a report of findings for a patient. I would hand that to the patient, and then I'd request that we can send it to their family doctors. Now, this is a long-term plan, okay? A lot of people expect that as you send these report of findings, it's a quick response. It's a long-term plan. It's something that you kind of work with and you continuously do, and then you reap the benefits later. I'm at the point in my career now when I see a new patient, I know their doctor, I get messages from them and say, hey, where's my report of findings from you? Which is kind of a nice place to be. However, it took a long time to develop. Lots of phone calls, lots of meetings, right? Lots of trying to get in to talk to these doctors. And another untouched area that I work with that a lot of people don't realize is I've done a lot of TMJ work. So I have a lot of dentists that actually send me patients. So it's kind of nice to be in the community and have dentists and family doctors. And then we already have a multidisciplinary clinic, so we have physiotherapists, massage therapists all working together. One of the last things that I do as well is if I don't have that multidisciplinary or that, say, a massage therapist in my clinic, I'm very much a stickler on providing good service. So I will refer to a massage therapist provided they give good service. So at the end of the day, it's also your reputation that's involved here, right? So I'm very, very pretty much built a massage therapist practice, and I don't earn a cent from it. However, all the patients are really happy, right? So it's really good to sort of give back to the community and help your patients in any way you can.
Dr. Allen?
So I work in a really small town. I think when we first moved there 20 years ago, there's about 10,000 people there. It might have gone up to maybe 15,000 now. And initially, I kind of remember the first couple of years of practicing there, some of my patients would actually tell me that their medical doctor or their physical therapist told them not to see me or see chiropractors at all. So that was a little bit disappointing, but I didn't really let it affect me too much. I just continued to treat them, and as they got better, they would be the one that would be telling their medical doctors and physical therapists that they're getting better. But I also try to, if I notice a patient needed like medical care, like notice they might have like diabetic symptoms or something like that, I encourage them to see their medical doctor with a note from me from why I want them to see them. So we started to build like relationships like that. And also I do have to sometimes ask the medical doctor for an MRI or a shoulder ultrasound. So I really had to continue talking to them, making a note to them. And in a small town that I work in, everyone knows everybody. So eventually they start to recognize my name. And when I ask for reports for MRIs, I would ask to get a copy of that too. So they started to really know that I really care about these patients. I'm really following up with what's going on. Same thing with physical therapists. At first, they weren't really open to me. But one day, one of the newer physiotherapists in town decided to come see me for chiropractic care. And we started to really get to know each other. She started to understand my scope of what I did and what my limits were, and we were able to really get to know each other, and I started to refer people to her, and then she started to refer to a lot of people to me, and now she's the busiest physiotherapist in town, and I'm probably one of the busiest chiropractors in town. And it's good, like if she'll notice that one of her patients, our mutual patients, hasn't been coming to chiro for whatever reason, and she'll encourage them back to come see me for maintenance. So it's just over years, just being consistent. I find working with osteopaths, RMTs, acupuncturists, all that kind of stuff, it's really going to help build the practice and build that relationship.
My experience was a lot like Dr. Ali's, where as soon as I graduated, I just hit the pavement and started to connect in any which way or form, typically trying to have meetings with medical doctors or other healthcare providers within the area of my first clinic. And it was as simple as on my floor, there's a plastic surgeon across from me, there's multiple dentists, there's an optometrist, just striking up a great relationship with them. And now we have a great interreferral network, which is absolutely fantastic. I remember when I first started again meeting specifically medical doctors, I'd bring pamphlets and talk about what chiropractic can or cannot do, not typically with a lot of success. And then I remember one particular experience where I met a medical doctor, younger individual. He took my pamphlet, didn't look at it, opened up a drawer in his desk, which was overflowing with pamphlets from other chiropractors or chiropractic clinics or whatever, dumped it in there, closed the drawer, looked up at me and said, "Now what?" So he said, "Who are you? Who are you? Like, let's just talk. Who are you?" And we struck up a relationship, and ipso facto, he's actually not only one of my friends, he's actually my family physician now as well too, since my family physician retired. And one of the most important things that I learned from that lesson was, again, personalizing it. When my family physician refers me patients, he doesn't say to his patients, "Go see the chiropractor," this is in their scope of practices, "Go see Paul. Paul knows how to treat this. He'll see you. He'll give me a report of findings. If he needs anything, I will order specialized tests. He knows what this is. He will help you." Sure, he's a chiropractor, but it's go see Paul. That's how I encourage you to try to make these interprofessional relationships, because quite frankly, you're not going to be the first one on the block. You're not going to be the last one on the block. And if you make it about just the profession, which is a huge scope, you're not going to stand out in any way from an entire drawer of individuals that were already ahead of you. Make it personalized. This is who I am. This is how I can help. Yeah, these are the services I do, so forth, but this is the experience your patients are going to have with me. This is how I'm going to communicate with you. Much like Dr. Ali, our clinics have a standardized report of findings forms, so as part of the online intake, the patient will leave contact information and just check off if we can communicate with the family physician, which is automatically sent to the family physician via email or fax or however which way that they need it. Just as Dr. Ali said to you, don't hold your breath. You oftentimes don't get a response back, but typically speaking, if you start to see more patients from a particular family physician, usually within the demographic area of one of your sites or the clinic, you'll start to develop a relationship. And it's a great segue to even if you haven't met that family physician, after a while trying to communicate with them, and then just say, "Hey, I'm treating 60 of your patients, why don't we talk," type of thing is important. I also try to make an appearance every once in a while to the actual clinics, so I know what all the admin staff of my family physician's office, how they like all their coffees. I'll pop in, say hi, chill out a little bit, hang out with my buddy, also referral network, and you have to upkeep those connections as well too. So, just my experience.
That's great. Just a follow-up question for you all. Are you guys involved in any community programs or volunteer work to help build these relationships?
When it comes to community developing these relationships, sorry, what was the second part of that question?
Or volunteer work.
Or volunteer work, yeah. So a lot of the volunteer work that we do in the community, typically comes around the holidays where we help out with Thanksgiving, Christmas, passing out dinners. I live in Whitby. Oshawa is right next door, and it has a big low socioeconomic, population that does need help. So we do try to donate. I think this year we collected a bunch of money from our patients. I think we dropped off about 30 turkeys and some hams and things like that. So things to just sort of get recognized in the community. I also am a part. Whitby is a pretty small town too, so people get to know you pretty quickly. So it's kind of nice to get involved.
I think most of the volunteer or community stuff I've done is more stuff that I'm kind of interested in. So I'm musical. I play a lot of different instruments. So I've joined the bands in my town, and then through that I'll meet like 60 or 70 people there. And sometimes they find out later I'm a chiropractor, so they'll come see me eventually or whenever. I also like to do like different sports. So I'm part of like the running group, the triathlons, like kayaking. It's just little stuff like that, and they get to know me as a person before as a chiropractor. Of course, when the kids were young, all the kids like sports and parent groups, all that kind of stuff. And then just recently, in my local town, one of the local doctors decided to form a group that will go to Africa. And then my husband, he's also a healthcare practitioner, decided to go with that group for the last 15 years. And then I haven't been able to go until this year, or I guess it was last year. And then so this group of 30 or 40 doctors, pharmacists, lab, x-rays, all that kind of stuff went to Africa, and we spent 2.5 weeks there. So we built we did a lot of work there, and when we came back from our experience, now we're just a different part of community, and those doctors, lab people are still referring people to our clinics. So just all different aspects of your life, you can really incorporate it into building those relationships that will help build your chiropractic stuff. That's about it. So.
I'm very active within the sports organizations within my immediate community, so volunteering hours there, on-site treatments and things of that nature. I do a lot of work also with the OCA mentee program, which has been fantastic, and a lot of the mentees that I have had that even though the official program ended, I still touch base regularly with those mentees. Recently just getting involved with Casey House as well too, so I'm going to be within their inpatient ward that they have within the hospital, which is going to be an absolutely rewarding experience there. Very regularly we'll do funding drives for things like Casey House or shelters or things of that nature, regular food and clothing drives as well too, and it's really stunning to see how much the patient base will give back to the community as well too, particularly during times of COVID when, quite frankly, things were scarcer. People didn't have a lot of money to give, so it was incredibly rewarding to see that, and which I thought was kind of interesting. Once some patients saw other patients give, how that encouraged more and more and more, and then posting that on social media sites regularly encouraged people to come in more and more and more. And sometimes I make it challenging that whoever can donate the most, they'll get a special gift or prize from one of the from the clinic or whatever have you. So it's a great way to give back to the community, and you chiropractors are well placed within their communities to give back a lot. So I highly suggest that as well too. It's rewarding.
That's amazing. Moving on to our third question. There's an increased focus on health and wellness post-pandemic. What advice would you give to students graduating in the coming years to benefit from this focus?
I guess the benefit, I guess that's a horrible word, but the benefit of the pandemic was that people are more, they're more inclined to take care of their health and to be more preventative. As chiropractors, we can talk a lot about preventative. What I've noticed, I don't know if you guys have noticed that too, since the pandemic, patients are starting to realize there's more that we can do than just an adjustment, right? When we talk about their immune systems, when we talk about their diet, we talk about exercise, the benefits of chiropractic, they start to realize, oh, you guys can do that? So that really has helped during after the pandemic, because people are looking into more ways to sort of help better their health. And there's also a bit of a paradigm shift going from Western medicine to Eastern medicine, or more pharmaceuticals to natural health. That paradigm shift, I think, has increased since the pandemic. So I think in order to take advantage of that would be to really sit with a patient, and again, we talked about best practices, discuss with them the options that you guys can provide to them, and that we can do more than just the adjustment and the musculoskeletal, but we can also affect their health in more ways than that.
I also find prevention, definitely they're really more making sure that the disease prevention and just keeping optimal health is important for them post-pandemic. And also I noticed that there's a lot of patients that are coming in with depression or psychosomatic type of body pain. So it's important to work with like counselors or different types of collaborate with other health practitioners that might help them with their problems with depression or just like their body pain. So I think that has increased a lot, and making sure they get the resources they need in that aspect.
I would also agree that I've seen a shift in general of individuals more focused on their healthcare, long-term as well too. I have seen or experienced a dramatic increase of, I'm just coming to you first because I can't see my family physician. A lot of family physicians have transitioned to virtual, and many have not left virtual. So what I get almost weekly is, there's no point in going to my family doctor. I can't see my family doctor, and they don't deal with this anyways. They have learned that what we can do as chiropractors is the scope is huge. And so quite frankly, I think I've seen a shift of almost being a primary healthcare provider in that sense, is particularly since COVID, because they can come in, and again, why not? Why waste 3 weeks only to see my family physician virtually for 60 to 75 seconds when I could just go see one of us, get an answer, get a treatment package ready, and then just kind of go right into it, so to speak. I will also agree that there's been a dramatic increase in social psychological concerns that have been coming in with patients, particularly during and then post-pandemic. And I do agree that if you don't, we have a psychotherapist as part of our group, but if you don't have an immediate resource that way, having resources that you can refer to immediately, because individuals will say something to you because you have more time with them. I think during the pandemic, I had my first case of child abuse that I had to report, as well as 2 patients that we had to do the 911 intervention because they were in immediate risk for suicide. So they will come to you and they will say that. And I think one of my experiences was, hey, it was a new patient. I was back to back. I had 45 minutes. That was the only break that I had that day. And I said, hey, the front desk told me it was your knee. And the person's response was, I'm going to kill myself. So what do you do then, type of thing? So having some of the resources in place that you can do to help yourself, because you will get some of this as well, would be important. So.
And just following up to that, how do you see the face of the profession changing in the future?
I'd say we touched on that a lot right now, where we're talking more about the psychology of it. The health has changed, where it's not just the physical. I guess you guys have seen it too. When we talk about the psychological, a lot of the times when you're in with a patient, you're not just talking about their physical ailment. They're telling you things about their family. They're telling you things they're struggling with. Luckily, I've never had to deal with any of the reporting. However, we have gotten to points where we've been real close. So preparing yourself for that and realizing that you're more to these patients than just someone who's going to help them with their back pain. Right? You're going to help them with a lot more than that. So understanding that and going in with that mindset that, we're trying to help this entire patient. I've actually referred to psychologists. I've actually talked to patients about the importance of talking to one, right? So just being that primary one, like Paolo said, we have access to it, and being able to open up the lines of communication with the family doctor. Also, once the family doctor gets something from you saying, hey, by the way, I'm recommending this x-ray or this MRI, a lot of the times they're a little more inclined to do it, because the thing we don't realize is governments pay for healthcare, So sometimes family doctors are a little hesitant to do things if there's no indication for it. So having another doctor sort of say, hey, I recommend this. If they were thinking about it, they're like, perfect, somebody else also backs that up. So that kind of helps, right? So opening up that line of communication with the patients, alternative healthcare, their family doctor, if they have a psychologist, just opening up those lines of communication really helps to help the entire patient.
Yes, I agree. I agree definitely for what you're saying. Yeah, definitely get to know the patient, see where they're coming from different aspects, treat them kind of as a whole person. Just get to know it. Like the patient everyone's becoming very diverse, and so we have to get to know where they're coming from. So. And what background they are coming from. So all these things are changing all the time, and just to be up to date with what the best practices and how to help them.
I agree with my colleagues, and I do think that overall in general, I can see, and it's changed dramatically since I graduated. I think when I graduated, we were still CAM, and then within a few years, we were already allied health. Now I really do believe in the next 5 years, probably less, it's going to be primary healthcare practitioners. I mean, patients, just as we've all seen during the pandemic, they realize, and this is not a knock to the medical community at all, but they know that their family, they know now more than ever that their general practitioners or pediatricians or whatever have you aren't going to deal with the stuff that we deal with. You are going to be the primary healthcare provider. But the problem with that is they will come to you with things that are not in your scope of practice. So you have to be prepared about how to lateral that or where to go from that point. And again, as Dr. Ali said, and I completely agree, they will tell you things you wish you never heard. And some of those are going to be actionable items that you have to know how to manage. It's an honor, I would say, that they trust you that much to tell you. And that's just the point. They trust you. They will go to you first. I have patients coming to me that have no business coming to me first. I begged some of them on the way to the clinic, please go to the ER. Nope, if you tell me to go to the ER when you see me, I'll go. I'm on the phone with you. Go to the ER. Nope, I want to see you first. Come in for 2 minutes, please go to the ER. Okay, I'll go. So, you laugh about it, but it will happen, and it's because you give them that time. They trust you. You are now their primary healthcare provider. That's absolutely, it's already happening. The future is now, so to speak. That's where I think it's going to go for chiropractic. I do believe it.
This is great. Thank you. All right, I have one more question for you. Please discuss 1 or 2 challenges you have faced in your career and the actions you have taken to overcome them.
I think I'll take this another swing in a different direction. Being a business owner, school did not prepare me for that. Not one little bit. You guys probably can agree with that. So that was one of the biggest challenges. Like I said, my first year, I realized I don't work well for someone. And then I opened a practice and realized I don't work so well by myself. So a lot of learning. There's a huge learning experience, a huge learning curve. I know in the introduction, OCA has a lot of resources, and not just OCA. There's lots of resources out there. I want to commend you guys. You guys are here. You want to learn more, so you're a step ahead of everybody else, right? So that's one of the biggest challenges we had. I know I had for sure was learning anything from business. I mean, my undergrad was philosophy and kinesiology. There's no business in that, right? I've never had any experience owning a business, so everything was part of a learning curve. It took me 12 years, and now I sort of still figuring things out. I'm still taking advantage of the OCA's Enriched Academy and things like that. I'm still talking to business owners, right? So even though it's a challenge, it'll always be a challenge. I mean, there's successful business people out there that still go bankrupt, right? Business is a volatile thing. So understanding what your limitations are and putting your pride aside to say, hey, I need some help, that will probably be your best asset.
I guess the biggest challenge for me was how to be a chiropractor, be a mom, taking care of the household, and just shifting what was important to me in all those different stages that I was. And then really for me, what worked was my husband and I worked opposite hours. So like he would work certain days and I would work certain days, so the kids were taken care of. And even though our kids are all grown up and most of them are out of the house, like we still work separate days. But I think that's why we've been married for over 20 years too. Just have been working separate days, and just like the resources, friends, and stuff. Just taking, just the kids was a big deal. Just to be able to be working full time and also being a mom, and like I enjoyed keeping the household too. My husband has his own. He's a dentist, so he opened his practice too at the same time, and then so he was really busy with his work, and he actually has an MBA also, so he was able to really like give me a lot of advice about business and how to pay off the loans, and so I kind of let him do that side of it. But I think the hardest challenge was just wearing the different hats as a mom, as a chiropractor, and feeling happy in all those different hats. And I find that when I was wearing whatever hat I was wearing, just to be present in the time was very important. I can't be a mom and start to think about what I had to do the next day as a chiropractor. So really making sure that you're happy with the time you spent in each section of your life.
I would say that my personal challenges are much like my colleagues. The first one being, I spent outside of high school 12 years in various medical or healthcare programs, no idea how to run a business, and literally just began my career that way. I'm still feeling some of the mistakes that I unfortunately had to go through at the time. And I do agree with Dr. Ali that it is a continually developing thing. I don't know any successful business individual. And by the way, success even means that just the door is open. That doesn't necessarily mean, especially during and post-pandemic, doesn't mean you're sort of rolling in the cash, so to speak, that are continually learning and trying to develop their skills, and because business is a volatile, amorphous thing. I can tell you, and I do agree that one of the challenges that I had is wearing different hats. I've had multiple personal relationships with partners that have failed, specifically just because you're working 14 hours a day. You have 6-7 days of the week to start, and it's incredibly challenging to have, forget about friendships, sometimes you'd even see family, let alone a partner, so to speak. So how do you create time in a healthy way is a continual challenge. I can speak for myself, and it's an amorphous thing, and it can be quite challenging. One of the last more specific challenges that I think brought up a lot of headaches was you have practices with 20 different staff members between this, and one person doesn't want to talk to the other person that happens to be an admin staff who doesn't like the RMT, who now will not book the RMT patients or accept payments. And it's just, you're busy, you're booked back to back, and you're like, now you got to, I'm sorry, just thinking about it, and you're like, now I got to manage this. Like, forget about patient care. It's even just in your own practice. How are you also working within your business and on your business at the same time? And those challenges can be quite challenging. And there's no rule book for this as well, too. So you have to be a negotiator 24 hours a day as well. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much, panelists. I'm sure our students have found this very valuable. So I'm going to turn it over to the students to ask questions. But before I do, I want to let you guys know that our panelists will be at the OCA Speed Mentoring booth this afternoon in the CCPA hall, where you'll have an opportunity to ask them questions directly. The panelists will be holding mentoring sessions from 12 to 3 p.m., so you can visit the OCA Speed Mentoring booth to sign up for their mentoring sessions. Now I'll open up the floor to the students. Any questions for the panelists? Anything more that you guys would like to know? Yes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Matthew. There was talk earlier about this paradigm shift in culture, and it was talked about to Western, to Eastern, pharmaceutical, natural. Okay, so where do chiropractors fit in all of this, right? Like, you go down to some of our American friends, they have very different views, that's for sure. But also, we're not, in our scope, we don't talk about medicine at all. So what is the culture doing? And how do we fit in that? How do we market, and maybe that's the wrong word, how do we show chiropractic to be something that is understanding of that and able to give people the answers that they're looking for as this paradigm shift is occurring?
I love that question, by the way. I think I'm going to sort of answer this in two different ways. Number one, we talked about how chiropractors are sort of shifting to be primary care practitioners. Now, again, this is no knock on family doctors, but I think chiropractors are well suited for that because we fall in the paradigm shift right in the middle. The reason I say that is, do you take pharmacology class? Yeah. Do a lot of chiropractors do acupuncture? Yeah. There's the two spectrums right there, right? We fall right in the middle where we can say, hey, we understand this aspect, we understand this aspect, and we could take you as a patient as a whole and say, you know what, this will probably work really well for you, right? Understanding your limitations as a chiropractor makes you a better chiropractor. I understand. I'll tell you personally, I'm not big on medication, but there's times where you need antibiotics, right? So, trying to understand your limitations, where a patient does, what patient needs are, and also understanding your scope of practice. That's also really important. I do know some chiropractors that overstep their bounds, which can get them into trouble. But advising a patient is not the same always as saying, hey, you need to do this, right? You can give them options, treatment options, talk about possibilities, and then you advise them who to speak to when it's outside your scope of practice, right? So that's what gives us sort of that ability to sit right in the middle of this paradigm.
I think every patient is different too. Like some people they like to take a lot of medication and they want to be less on medication. So it's like sometimes every patient's a different shift at where they are. Or some people are doing too many alternative care and they're trying all sorts of stuff. And we have to bring them back to the middle, and also where they are at trying all these different things and what's the best outcome for them, for their health, and just giving them evidence-based information and letting them know all the information so they can make the most best treatment plan for themselves and understand where they're sitting. That allows them to kind of see where they fit in that whole dynamic.
I happen to agree with both my colleagues, and I think that's the shift. We're based upon your education and your ability to communicate with the patient exactly the options, either which way, if you want to call it Eastern or Western as well too. I agree with that perspective. Always stay within your lane, so stay in your scope of practice, but it is our scope of practice to offer possibilities. And I agree with Dr. Ali as well too that there's a difference between saying these are the possibilities, which in fact you're required to inform the patient about alternatives, and there's a difference between you have to do this, so to speak. And this is part, I think, of the patient trust, where they can come to you and they'll learn to come to you for those unbiased opinions. Now, I do agree that sometimes the challenge is you can have patients where the pendulum swings a little too far one direction or another, where you have to quarterback it a little bit more. And I have had experiences like that where you need to get, I think it was a post-meniscal patient, and she thought she didn't want any medication. She asked if I thought her knee was infected, which it was dramatically swollen and oozing pus. So I said, yeah, I'm not touching this, of which case she was very upset that I couldn't treat her and that she needed antibiotics. So, and again, it's really interesting what patients will come to you to ask in order to get your approval, so to speak. Just make sure it's within your scope. But quarterback that between both ways, please.
Thank you, Matthew, for that question. Any other questions? Yes.
At the beginning, just what Ali was saying, that he refers a lot of people to RMTs. Within your own clinic, you're a multidisciplinary clinic yourself. I don't know what's in your own clinic, though, but if you have an RMT, a physio, and other people who are similar to your scope, how do you refer if everyone can do almost everything? Do you have those narrow the lanes even more? Say, chiros can only do manipulation, the physio can do rehab, the RMT can do soft tissue, and that's it? How do you balance that?
So that's a good question. Typically, I only hire people that want to get patients better. That's literally my simple thing. Do you want to get this patient better? Yeah. Do you think they'll do better with physio? Yeah. Send them. Really that simple. If anyone in my clinic is ever, that's my patient, they're not none of your patients, they're my patients, take a hike. Okay? It's really that simple in my clinic, where everyone realizes that I'm here to get people better. And I think a lot of my practitioners realize that when I start handing them my patients, right? So again, when your leadership is one of the keys when you're owning a business, and if the leader is not willing to do it, nobody else will do it, right? And you guys see that from the top down, where I will take a patient and say, like, if they come in with a knee injury, and I'd be like, nah, I don't like to treat knees. I'm not good at treating knees. I want you to go see the physio, right? So a lot of it also comes with where are your strengths and weaknesses. If there's no internal reflections of what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, you're not really helping the patient, right? In our clinics, I like diversity and even chiropractic. All my chiropractors are from different places, right? I have CMCC grads, I'm a Duval grad, I have a Palmer grad, and a lot of us have our strengths and our weaknesses. So we actually sit down as a group and talk about those and say, hey, listen, if you got someone who has a certain condition, this doctor's great with it, and we'll just send them back and forth. And if you're not getting a response, maybe try to keep them within the clinic. Now, referring to the RMT, I wasn't always multidisciplinary. When I started, it was just me in 5 rooms, twiddling my thumbs. So a lot of it was trying to find good practitioners around me. And when I found this RMT, she was amazing. She started, every patient that I sent her, I had nothing but good things to say about her, and then she would send me clients. So it became a really good relationship, right? Where she would see patients, send me as a chiro, and I would send her. Neither one of us would make money off of each other, but we both had the same mentality that we provide quality work, right? So that was the important part, and the patients thrived for it.
I work in a clinic with 2 other chiropractors, and there's a massage therapist, but the massage therapist is booked probably like 2 or 3 months in advance. So a lot of times I have to send him to another massage therapist outside the clinic. And also we don't have a physical therapist, so we had to send it out. I think we all work together. Like the physical therapist will sometimes text me if they know they're coming from the physical therapist to our chiro office and say, I already did acupuncture on the shoulder. You can maybe if you want, you can focus on the back. So we all kind of work together, or the patient will tell me like, oh, I really want you to work on the back. I already had my shoulder taken care of the physiotherapist, and or the physiotherapist said like, oh, I think my physiotherapist told me that there's a rib out, and then can you take a look at that? I was like, oh yeah, cool. And then we kind of all work together, and I think the patient just knows what works best for their body, and it's more like collaborative care for sure. And same with the osteopath too. They'll tell me like that this patient needs a neck adjustment or something like that, and then I'll kind of assess and see what's going on at that point.
I think for a multidisciplinary practice, having individuals that all want to work together is absolutely important. So I think between both of my sites, I have chiro, physio, massage therapy, naturopathy, psychotherapy, and acupuncturist. So everyone has their own roles. I will only hire people, absolutely, that want to work as a team. I've had individuals I've hired like that. Things changed. They said flat out, I've had some patients, some staff, these are my patients, said that's the door, you can use it. And that was it. They were gone. I didn't care how much they were billing. Where it becomes important for me or the admin staff, because they're usually the primary source about where to lateral these patients, are referral networks. So if they're coming in to see me, for example, then fine, they'll get placed with me. Sometimes the patients don't know, which the admin staff is trained to educate them regarding whatever the problem may be, and then make a suggestion of individuals that they can see, physio, massage therapy, or whatever have you. Ultimately, what it will boil down a lot to is private insurance coverage, to be perfectly honest. So typically speaking, things are changing now. I think most insurance companies are now phasing this out, but the reality of the situation is a lot of people in Ontario have unlimited physio for a year, maybe $350, $500 chiropractic, maybe a little bit more for RMT. So even if they want chiropractic, for example, or they want to see the individual they were referred to, having team members that you can continue with the care in a multidisciplinary practice specifically for insurance coverage is an important thing to consider. When push comes to shove, ultimately the work between what an RMT might do, which is a lot of, if you're a chiro who practices a lot of MRT, which is perfectly fine, I usually explain to the patient that you need to see, I did it, I think 10 times yesterday alone, I can only work on your muscles so much amount because I have to do this, 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 this. You need a massage, please book in with Vincent or with Brandon or whoever. They can take this more than I can. I just don't have the time for it. As a practical point, the patient will understand that. Cool, Paul only has 10 minutes or 5 minutes to do some muscle work. I need more. Things feel tight. He says they're tight. I'll go see this individual. They will trust you as that source, again, to say, who do I go see? I really like you. I'm out of chiropractic. I'll be willing to pay out of pocket a little bit more before I see the physio, but should I go see the physio? Is that okay? Will you talk to the physio about my case? Will they do a lot of the same stuff that you do? You have to instruct the patient regarding that. But you have to have a team that will work as a team. I want to be very clear about that going in, that if you don't, it's not going to work. It just won't.
Awesome. Thank you for that question. Any other questions? Yes.
For those who want to, to own a practice in the future, can you speak just briefly on like the pros and cons of maybe starting a practice from scratch versus maybe having to wait longer buying a practice or joining the purpose to buy and sort of if you were in that situation at all, the pros and cons of each, maybe more recently as well.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's a good question. So for me personally, because I went to Duval College in Buffalo, I had no idea about anything in the Ontario system. When it came to MBA, when it came to WSIB, when it came to any of that stuff. So I thought it was prudent for me to work for somebody. And again, I did not do so well working for somebody. I learned a lot. It was a means to an end for me. And then I had the same question you just had. Do I want to open one from scratch? Do I want to take over someone's practice? And I actually ended up taking over someone's practice who had a really bad reputation. So there really was just a bunch of files and no patients. So I got the clinic for a great deal. That's the reason. That's the reason I got in there. Pretty much the furniture cost more than I paid for the clinic. So that was a benefit in terms of cost. But you're still building a practice from scratch by doing it that way, right? Now, the benefits, I would say, from building from scratch is it's yours, right? Every idea is yours. The look of the clinic, the marketing, every little detail of a fresh, brand new clinic is yours. The downside is that's going to cost you a lot of money. You could do it in a budget way, but you may or may not be happy with it. Taking over someone else's practice, the benefit is, there are some patient files. Everything's pretty much set up. You can get turnkey where you just sort of step in and you gradually phase out the old chiropractor and you're the new chiropractor. Those are always good. Again, you have to be able to negotiate well to get something, but you may be paying just as much or more for a practice that's making a lot more, right? So it really, for me personally, it depends on your personality. I've noticed, I don't know if you've noticed, by hiring other chiros, there are chiros that are workers and there are chiros that are owners. And it really just comes down to what's their personality. Do they have a business sense? Do they understand it? Do they get it? Right? As an owner, you start to look at chiros and do they get it? So it just depends on, I would really, again, I always say internal reflection is really important. What type of person are you? Are you the type of person that can manage people and lead people, or are you the type of person who would be more comfortable just sort of doing your job and going home? If you're the latter, don't open a business, okay? Because there is no going home. It's constant work, 24/7, doesn't stop. So if you are the latter, come to terms with that or figure out how to change that. But if you want to own a business, again, I know I did the long-winded answer, but it really depends on what you're comfortable with and talking to a lot of people and looking for the right opportunity. That's the key, is looking for the opportunity, not stopping, not turning things away, sort of digging in and saying, okay, will this work or not? And having, one of the biggest things is I have advisors. I have a bunch of people that I go to when it comes to business. So having that kind of to fall back on and sit back and sort of brainstorm ideas really helps.
So when I first arrived in Uxbridge, my husband actually opened a practice from scratch, and I saw how much money he spent on his clinic, and he was at work all the time, like from 8 a.m. in the morning till like 10 p.m. And between that, he probably only saw like 1 or 2 patients, and I could see like the money just going, like including the loan is like just money, and then but he kind of assured me that if the business lasts for 5 years, it will be okay. So those first 5 years were really tight. Like I remember seeing the bank just going lower and lower. But as we built that patient base, it became better and better. And I did see the stress that it caused him, but I could see that he was happy going to work every day because he was a boss and he was able to make it the way he was. We did look at a lot of practices to buy, but it was going to cost a lot of money, and we didn't know what we were kind of going into. If you do go into a practice where you might be like perhaps an older chiropractor that wants to retire, and if you feel like he practices the same way that you do, that'd be a good opportunity. But it still costs a lot of money. But I really think just kind of look at the area where you want to practice, how you want to see, where you want to have a family, or where you want to live. That's probably more important than like what you want to do. If you can start as associate as you want, and then at one point I actually had, when the kids were little, I had my own practice at home, out of a room in my house, and I worked as an associate too. So I kind of was doing both, so that was kind of nice too. And also, like when you're negotiating your associate contract, to ask for what you want. Like if you want that percentage, ask for it, and don't be afraid to walk away because you know what you're worth. So I think I kind of did like both at the same time. So. Yeah.
Personally, what I've seen in my own career is everyone wants to be a boss until it's time to do boss stuff. So ultimately, and I want to be very clear because that's a very good question because I get it from a lot of my mentees, the decision about buying into or owning a practice rests entirely upon the type of individual that you are. I completely agree. I can tell you personally, after being a business owner now with 2 clinics in practice for almost 11 years, this is the first break I've had in 17 days straight. I've been working Sundays. The reality is, as an owner, you do not stop. You don't. You are the you are the person that has to get everything done. Yeah, you have a great team. I don't believe in being an armchair boss. Your team needs to see you involved with everything, and that's how it encourages them to get more involved. But ultimately, it's not their responsibility. As an owner, it is your responsibility. You have one day off, you decide to go meet some friends, maybe had too much to drink, you're hungover the next day, you get a message from your office manager that they can't come in and the printer's on fire. That's your responsibility, not anybody else's. So you really need to ask yourself first, if you want to just check in, check out, and leave, and you don't have to worry about anything else, because for a lot of people, that's for them, and that's cool. The responsibility of being an owner is, I don't think people really understand what that really means. Every one of my mentees or my colleagues, I just had my best friend buy into practice a year and a half ago, and I spent 2 years trying to convince him out of it. He just told me he wants to sell. So you really need to know what type of individual you are. And if you're seeing some people, on social media bawling out, I can tell you right now, there's probably a lot of private financial backing out there that maybe allows them not to do that. But I can tell you for owners that particularly start from scratch, it is hard. And I mean very difficult. You have to be very much prepared for that. I can tell you in my business, in my practices, I get paid last. That's how I've always done it. That's just the reality, because there has to be something in there to operate something. So before you even consider if you want to be an owner, if you want to buy into something, what type of individual are you? Because if you're comfortable with just leaving it and then you go on your vacation, I went from 2018 to 2023 between vacations. That was between vacations. So if you want that time off, you want your weekends, you want to work 9 to 5, and you want to forget about it, I can tell you right now, don't be an owner. don't even buy into a practice 50%, 1% don't. So who are you first before you even get there? That's my response.
This is great. I love the discussion. Thank you, Dr. DeGroff, for the question. So that concludes our panel for today. I just want to thank our panelists for sharing your knowledge and insights with us.